I'll do it myself. Let's look at our list first this morning. Let's see, Pauline, your birthday was last week, wasn't it? And we sang happy birthday to you last week, didn't we? Okay. So you're going to have to wait another year to get let's see, it's Bono and April's anniversary today. That's why they didn't come, I'm guessing, is why they didn't come. Knowing Bono, he found a real inexpensive ticket. I won't say cheap, but he found a real inexpensive ticket someplace, and it was only good for Sunday, and that's why he's not here today. And some person named Fabiola Sanchez. Is it a birthday? Tomorrow's your birthday? 49? Around 49 years old tomorrow? All right. Happy birthday, Fabiola. And then Cliff Schaefer's birthday is this week also. So Cliff is in here with us today again. But all of them are having anniversaries, prayers, birthdays is what I meant to be. Here is something that is happening Friday the 28th. So not this Friday, but a week from this Friday is going to be a statewide prayer meet in Socorro, okay? They're going to meet at the Family Christian Center Friday the 28th at 6 o'clock in the evening. They're asking that there would be leaders from every section. They divided the section up into 8 states, eight sections. The what? And Saturday. They're going to have something Saturday also. You notice I didn't announce that on purpose, okay? Yeah, Saturday also from 8 in the morning till 6 o'clock at Garcia Opera House. Sounds like a great place just to go, man, just to see the Opera House in Socorro, New Mexico. Anyway, different sections of the state, different people that are going to be representing and praying for the state of New Mexico, something that we always try to keep doing here at Cornerstone Church. Also, if you're involved with the school that Calvary Chapel, if you've been to any of the meetings and if you're involved with any of the meetings that Calvary Chapel has had concerning the school, the Christian school that they want to start in September, they're having a meeting tomorrow. Check your email, and Pastor Daniel will send you something on that. Let's go through our announcements for this week. Shelb, first one is Kids Church, okay, in the library, ages 6 through 12, and then the nursery right behind the booth there. If your wife is giving you a hard time, you got to send her to the nursery. You can send her over there, or your husband, one or the other. Next one is men's Bible study at Heart of David Worship Center at 333 Peggy Lee Lane. We meet every Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock at Pastor James Church for a Bible study. We're going through a book called Strong Men in Tough Times. Oh, I'm telling you, I think we're going to have to go through it again. It's such a great book. Next is going to be our women's Bible study here at the church on Wednesdays at 6 o'clock in the evening. All right? And then we meet every once a month. We do not have women's Bible study the first Wednesday of every month because we have intercessory prayer for the greater Las Vegas area. Also, next after that is Saturday morning is men's fellowship. So we meet at 7 o'clock in the morning and we eat. We always put something together, okay? Ben's not here this morning, but we had a great time yesterday. Robert, you were here yesterday, weren't you, for the men's breakfast? Okay. All right. So Springer Women's Prison Ministry. We have some applications that have already been sent to the corrections department. But we're all saying is that if anybody wants to be part of the team that goes to Springer Prison once a month, you need to get a hold of me. You need to have an application. You need to go through the training. The application, the state has made the application every second year. You have to reapply. So that's why we're having to go through all this. There's an application. We can send you the application. You fill it out. We'll get it out to the corrections department, and then we'll have our training. We need to get back to the ladies' prison in Springer, and anybody interested, anybody that hasn't filled out an application yet, did you think you might want to go with the team to Springer's prison? Raise your hand so I can get you an application. Anybody out there? Nobody here this morning that wants to do it? The rest of you have all applied? Okay. The only thing is if you decide you want to go, and like let's say in March you want to go and you haven't put in your application, they won't let you in. Samaritan House has food distribution every Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. The address for Samaritan House is, Robert, what is it? What's the address? 501 7th Street, okay? This is 7th Street right here, down to 501. Right next to the park is where Samaritan House has their food distribution every Tuesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. They get there a little early, unload the trailer, break it down into different boxes, and then help the people take it out to their cars on Tuesday morning and try to finish by 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. What else, Shelby, do I have besides that? The daily legislative prayer call every morning that the legislature is meeting in the 60-day session. There is a 15-minute prayer call at 9 o'clock in the morning. You can visit our website, and on our website, lvcornerstone.com. No, that's not correct. You can visit our Facebook page, which is LV Cornerstone, and on there I have put the phone number and the access number so you can pray along with people from around all of the state that's praying for the legislature every morning that it's in session. So encouraging you. In fact, what I can do and make it even easier for you is I can send you the text message that they send me every morning reminding me about the prayer call, and on there is the number, on there is the access code, and you can pray right along with them. Next is Kenya Orphanage. We have been supporting an orphanage in Kenya for many years now, and I didn't realize until yesterday how many years we had been supporting Abongo and his work there in Kenya. And the way that I found out is because I've always sent the money through an app, and it's been very easy for the last 3 years to where I would bring up the app, his name was there, fill in the amount, send off the money and everything. So yesterday I kept trying and kept on getting an error message, kept trying, and I tried 4, 5, 6 times, get an error message, and finally I get a hold of the chat line and they say, we don't take commercial cards anymore. So I'm going to have to find another way to get them their money. And I'm tired, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of having a million apps on my phone. So I don't know. I might have to go to Kenya myself and take them the money every month. Anybody want to go? 90.3 FM is our radio station. If you're looking for a Christian radio station, 90.3 FM is where we are at. We used to be at 95.7, and then somewhere in the middle of last year, we went to high power. We went to 90.3 FM. I mean, the reach is a lot greater than it was before. Eileen and I were in Mora this week, and we were able, it wasn't a real good signal out in Mora, but just before, like in Buena Vista, places like that, it was still coming in pretty good. I don't know what part of the county that you're living in, but we get a better reach than we ever have before on 90.3 FM instead of our old low-power frequency. What else we have that is our website, LV Cornerstone. That is our Facebook address, LV Cornerstone. Our YouTube is at LV Cornerstone Church. So that's the way that you're going to find us, and I'm pretty sure that's all that we have. So we're getting into the Word this morning. Any questions? Any questions before we get started this morning? Any questions? Nobody has questions. Okay. This might be your last chance to ask that question. We're going to go to Matthew chapter 5 this morning. And I think that with some of the scriptures that I have, things might sound a little disconnected, but what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to bring everything into a situation to where we can see the similarities that we're talking about. We're going to start off in Matthew chapter 5, verse 40. How many of you know that we're living in very challenging times? You living, just even with our regular situation that we have going on right here, that we've had going on this week with a water issue, it's challenging. And then there's things going on. You open up your news feed and you see all the different reports and things that are going on in the country, things that are going on in the world. But how many of you know that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above? In the midst of where we're at, God is doing something. And God, who was it? I think it was Joseph that was meeting with his brothers in the book of Genesis. Wasn't it Joseph was meeting with his brothers in Genesis, and he told his brothers, what you meant for evil, he says, come on, help me out. He says, what you meant for evil, God meant for good. Did she read it? I don't know if she read it. I don't think she read it. If she did, she stole my thunder. She's not coming next Sunday. That's all I'm going to tell you. So how many of you know that God can turn any situation that you find yourself in? God can, big ones, little ones, and all the in-between ones, God can do it. But here we are in chapter 5, very quick, verse 41. Do I have it up there, Shelby? There it is. Matthew chapter 5, verse 41. He says, and whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. What's Jesus talking about? Now, if you're new, I ask a lot of questions, and I don't mind answers. He said, do more than what you're asked, okay? That's part of it. Do what you're. What else? What else is going on over here? We have a pastor in the back. He's hiding out with a hat on his head over there, and he's got a vest on. He's from California. He's just passing through, and he thought he was just going to sneak away, and we weren't going to. Good morning, brother. How you doing this morning? Glad to have you. Nazarene Church and around is it the Oxnard area of California? Covina? LA. All right. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming to Cornerstone. What's going on? Somebody give me the little background here. Mrs. Sice, what do you think?
So the Roman soldiers would have the people, I guess Jewish people, carry all their armor and stuff for 1 mile.
All right.
So Jesus says, carry it for 2.
Carry it for 2.
And he did it.
And he did it. Now, here's the run-in to my message this morning, is that the Romans had a road system throughout all of the empire. Throughout all of the Mediterranean Empire, the Roman roads went from Rome all the way east, almost to India. They went down to Egypt. They were all over the place. And what Jesus is telling his disciples in the 5th chapter of the book of Matthew, what he's telling them is, what's going to happen is that one of these days you're going to be walking down the Roman road, and there's going to be a cohort of Roman soldiers, and by law, you are going to be asked to take their pack for 1 mile. And Jesus says, if they ask you to take it 1 mile, take it 2. Anybody ever watched The Chosen? Who has watched The Chosen here? Huh? Did you see that part of The Chosen to where they're going down the road? Wasn't it this last season that they're going down the road and they're going down the road and they see the Romans coming down and immediately the disciples say, oh man, oh shucks, here they come. And Jesus says, pick them up, take them. And when they got for a mile, Jesus says, don't unload them. Let's go for another mile. So I'm not going to really talk about going the extra mile. What I want to do is I want to talk a little bit this morning about technology, about changes. I'm 73 years old. I know it's hard for you to tell. But in 73 years, I've seen a lot. How many of you are close around my age? Come on, don't be afraid to raise your hand this morning. Oh yeah. No, you're 71, you don't want to open up your hand. Come on now. Huh? How many of you remember black and white TV? Anybody here remember black and white TV? She remembers in the back. I had one of my employees yesterday, a 16-year-old employee. It was Friday. He says, how did you guys watch black and white TV? Oh, how would you answer the situation? How would you answer the question if somebody said, how did you guys watch black and white TV? Well, that's all we knew. What, Michael? That's the only choice we have. We didn't know what color TV was all about. I remember when my dad got the first color TV, and I believe it was for the Super Bowl. One of the first Super Bowls, the early 60s, my dad got a color TV, nice big old console, 100 tubes on the inside. The big tube itself probably weighed 200 pounds or something like that. And now we hang them on the wall, and they're a couple of inches. But things have changed over the years, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just talk about our time, okay? In my lifetime alone, some of the changes that I've seen is black and white TV. Huh? How many of you remember brick phones? Anybody? Raise your hand. Sally, what's a brick phone? The original cell phone. And how did you carry it around? On your hip? No, you had a bag. I mean, and even before that, there was dial phones. And rotary dials, and you didn't have to do it like they did it in the movie. You didn't have to talk to the operator anymore. You would just call the number, and they would go straight in line. I mean, I tell you what, we've seen a lot in our lifetime. Payphones. Mrs. Sice remembers, because I was in sales for 33 years. And Mrs. Sice remembers that wherever we went, there was never a payphone that I would miss. Because in the old days, I used to have to call what would they call it? The line. My customers would call into an 800 number, and they would leave a message on the 800 number. And then I would have to call the 800 number and access my code and get the number. Now, Shelby goes around all over the place, and he's got this little thing on his hip, and wherever he goes, his customers call him right there, and he's ready to answer. Changes. The Roman road was one of those technological things that had been built in the time of Jesus, in the time of the apostles, even before. But do you realize that they had over 250,000 miles of roads that went all around the Mediterranean? And what had happened, it made it easier for the army. It made it easier for letters and for all kinds of information to go back. What do we have today? Do we have Roman roads? Are we afraid? Are we afraid of, and look at, I'm telling you, history over the last 2,000 years of church history, there have been technologies that have come down, and we don't even realize that the Roman road was a technology. But in those days, it was a technology. And what they did is wherever they went, and still some of these roads are used today, because of the engineering of the roads that they had. Maybe they don't use the exact road, but they still build highways next to them because the Romans engineered these roads. 250,000 miles of them, 20% of them were paved, and they were able to go to point A to point B. So, we've been through all kinds. And let's talk about technology a little bit. Somewhere around the 4th century, let's go back a little bit now. When Paul went someplace, when Paul went to Corinth, when Paul went to Ephesus, when Paul went to Antioch, he went with scrolls in his arm. What were the scrolls? It was the Old Testament. It was the Old Testament. And he had scrolls, and they went with. And then, about 300 years after Jesus died, they started doing something a little bit different. Instead of carrying around scrolls with them, they started carrying around something that today we call a books. They were called codex. And in the day, what they did is they began to change from these big old bulky scrolls to started to write them down. And then after they wrote them down on vellum, then they decided somebody came up with a real good idea and they made it on paper. And then you go to about 1400 AD and somebody invents something called what? It's called the printing press. And because the printing press, these are all technologies that happened every so often, technologies that happened over and over. Today we have a Bible, and you probably have a few of these in your house, one by your bed, one by wherever you sit and study, maybe one in the living room. You have them all over the place, and you have a Bible that you can take with you all over the place. And these are technologies. And these technologies, and what these technologies did is they allowed the Word to go out and to be put in the hand of the everyday common man. But at the same time that these technologies came about, what else were they used for? Yeah. They were used for an evil Roman army to get from point A to point B. But you look at the first, the second, the third missionary of Paul, and what did he do? He used the Roman roads, and he went to these cities. And what did he do when he went to these cities? Here's a point that I want to make, that there's a lot of technologies in your world today. There's a lot of technologies that have sprung up in our lifetime. There's a lot of technologies that sprung up over the last 100 years. Are they good or are they bad? Are they good or are they bad? Here's a technology right now. As I was talking about books and bringing up a book, here's my favorite technology here right now. Okay? It's my tablet. My tablet, I have my Bible program. I have probably a dozen different English translations. I probably have another dozen commentaries, another dozen dictionaries. I have an editor to where I can edit my own thoughts, and I can put them down. It has books that I can download, old books that are past the copyright law that I can bring in, and I can read them all in this little thing over here. You know what I have over here? I have a library right over here, and I can add to it whenever I want to. If there's more that's out there, I can download it, and these are all technologies. Now, here's a computer. Is it good or is it bad? Depends on how you use it. So, technology is changing. Even today, technology is changing. What do we do with the technology that's changing? Do we use it for good or do we use it for bad? What do we do? Some technologies, well, right here, let's talk about the bad. Is there bad things that I can do with this thing right here? Give me an idea. Somebody give me an idea of something bad that I can do. Porn, thank you very much. I'm glad you brought it up so I didn't have to. Pornography, you can get on pornography sites here. And it used to be that it was basically men that were getting on pornography sites. And now we find out that there's a lot of ladies who are in pornography. In fact, we're even finding out that there's some studies that's saying that 50% of pastors are watching porn on their computers. You can use it for bad, and you can use it for good. What else bad? Now that we're in the bad section, let's talk about the bad. What else is out there? Overindulgence? Shopping? Yeah, you can spend all your money and your neighbor's money too if you know how to hack into their site. Jana?
You can spread
You can spread lies. You can start saying all kinds of things about somebody or something, and you can cause all kinds of trouble just with a little instrument like this. So, do we? Well, what do we do? Do we use it for the good or do we use it for the bad? Excuse me. Do we use it for the? What's worse? What's worse? Using it for the good or using it for the bad? You know what's really worse? What's worse than using it for the bad? Okay, so we've kind of come up to a conclusion. Some of you out there agree with me that we can use this for the bad. What's worse than using it for the bad? In my estimation, the worst thing besides us using it for the bad is trying to use it for the both. Do you understand what I mean? Because we have technology, and with this technology, I could be in my easy chair. I'm a lazy boy kind of a guy. I have a stick shift on that puppy, and I'm telling you what, I can change gears on my lazy boy real easy. And then I put a blanket all the way over me, and who knows what I'm doing underneath my blanket at 3 o'clock in the morning. Do you understand what I mean? I can be using it for good, I can using it bad, but the worst thing is for us to use it for both. And technologies are coming. Now we have a new technology within the last couple of years. You're hearing about it more and more and more. What is it? No, it's not IA, but you're close. Switch your letters around. It is. See, that's how new it is. We don't even know what it is. I do the same thing. The young people say, IA. Let's say, well, hey, we're getting down there, huh? Is it good or is it bad? Huh? Well, I guess it depends. Now, I've messed around with it a little bit. You know, in fact, I got some notes. I asked it a question this week. I asked it a question about the Roman road and how did the early church in the apostolic times use the Roman road for the spread of the gospel, and it gave me about 2 pages worth of information on how. So you can use it that way. Now, let me tell you why we're talking about this morning. Because about a week and a half ago, this message was starting to come to me. I was starting to get this thing about technology and our people. How many of you use technology? Wait. How many of you don't use technology? See, that's what I thought. How much can you do with this? Eileen forgot her list that she was writing at the store yesterday. I don't know why she just doesn't put it on her phone instead of, because we take our phone with us anyway, but she's not back yet. Okay, so I'm still safe. Okay, so I'm thinking about this a week and a half ago, and I say, what are we using technology? Every day we're using technology. Huh? A lot of us are on Facebook. A lot of us on YouTube. Yeah. And hey, I remember in like about 1987. Some of you guys weren't even born in 1987, but I remember about 1987 when I got on the internet for the first time. And now we have an AI guy in the corner over there that says, what? Yeah, I remember getting on the internet for the first time in about 1987. And now, punch a button, there you are. You don't even have to type. You know, you can just press the microphone and you can tell it, and it'll try to bring up the responses that you're looking for and all kinds of stuff. But I tell you what, the worst thing we can do is try to play both sides of the fence, and that's what I want. Now, Pauline texted me this week. Pauline had a dream. Remember your dream, Miha? You remember that dream? And if you might have to come up front, Pauline, and tell us. But in this dream, Pauline saw a soldier completely dressed out as a soldier, and he came to her in the dream. He had a laptop. Tell me if I'm wrong, okay? Because I read it about about a dozen times, and still I got to read it about a dozen more. In her dream, she saw the soldier, and it was like the soldier was giving her the laptop, and she went out to reach the laptop, and he took it away from her. And she says, okay, Lord, what's this all about? And basically at the end of the dream, she finally came to the conclusion that there's good and there's evil right over here on the laptop. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff out there, my brothers and sisters. There's a lot of good stuff, great stuff, and there's a lot of bad stuff and a lot of really bad stuff that's out over there. And if we try to bring this whole thing together, what did he tell them in the garden? What did he tell Adam when he created Adam in the garden? Okay. He said what? What did he say? Somebody said something back there. What did he say? Steve, I can't hear you. Not to eat of the fruit. He says, listen, there's trees, there's trees, there's trees. Trees all over the place. But there's two specific trees. Now, here's what happened in the garden. Is that there was the tree of life, and there's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. All you have to do is go to the 2nd chapter of the book of Genesis and read it. Bring up a verse real quick for me, Shelby. We won't get into a lot of detail because I'm trying to keep. I got 2 hours left. We got a lot of time, ladies and gentlemen. He says, and the Lord commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat. Verse 17. That's 16. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for the day that you eat of it you shall surely die. One tree. One tree. I believe that much of the internet is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because if you have a question, you don't ask Mama the answer to the question anymore. If you have a question, who do you ask? Google. And now they're after Google too. Have you noticed how people are after? Anyway, you ask Google every question that you have, and you can have questions all day long, and you can get answers all day long. Are they all bad? No, they're not all bad. What does it determine? Well, what determines whether it's bad or good? Huh? What determines? It's right behind this microphone over here. Excuse me? It's the question that you ask it. So it's the person, it's not the instrument. It's like a hammer. A hammer, you can use it to build a house, and with that same hammer, you can crush somebody's head, go to prison for the rest of your life. Or take the house down. Well, I'd rather hit him. No, I don't want to rather hit him over there. But do you realize that in the beginning, what did God do in the beginning? When he told Adam, of every tree in the garden you may eat, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, he says, stay away from it. What did God give them? What? What? Choice. Everybody say choice. What did they choose? They choose pornography. We won't say it wasn't porn, but I mean, you know. They chose something else. Do you realize today that that same opportunity is for us every day? I was looking at Joshua. Joshua, let's see where it is, because I'm all, where is it, Shelby? I guess I don't have it. Yeah, Joshua chapter 30. About verse 18. I don't know if you're on verse 18 or not, but Joshua 30:18 says, I declare to you today that you shall surely perish. You shall not live long in the land that you are going over the Jordan to enter and possess. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have set before you what? Okay, I didn't give him the verse. I thought he had it there. Joshua 30:19. Usually I have these things kind of set up a little bit better, but this was one of those times that I didn't. Joshua chapter 30. Deuteronomy. Everybody say Deuteronomy. Don't confuse the guy in back. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 19 says, I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore choose life. And just like that laptop that she saw in her dream that was handed to her by a very prim and proper soldier. And she says, what's this about? Well, it's all about choice. It's just a tool. It's just an instrument. It's all how we use it. What is it? He says, I have set before you today life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore, choose life. I'm here today saying is that we need to make a very dedicated promise and a disciplined action in our life to choose life. We've been talking about the cultural moment that we're living in. We're talking about evangelism. We're talking about the whole state of the church. We're talking about what's the changes that are here and the changes that are coming in your world today. Ladies and gentlemen, choose life. That's what we have to do. Is we have Joshua stands up before the whole congregation, because what Joshua did is the same thing that Moses did. In fact, this is in Joshua. This is Moses in Deuteronomy talking to the people. Sorry, it wasn't Joshua. But Joshua, at the end of his book, he stands up in front of the congregation the same way that Moses did in the 30th chapter of Deuteronomy. And what does Joshua say? He says, choose you today. You've heard it before. You might know where it's at. Choose you today whom you will serve. He says, as for me and my household, he says, it's a choice that we make every day. In the book of Revelation, somewhere in the second chapter, I think it was verse 19 of the second chapter, the Lord himself is speaking. How many of you know that this week we went to the second book of Ephesians? Anybody following along with me as we're going through the scripture verse by verse, chapter by chapter every morning between 6 and 7 o'clock every morning on KLYN, on Facebook, and on YouTube. We go through the verse. We will start Philippians tomorrow. If anybody wants to join in, 6:10 every morning is when we start. And we'll be in the book of Philippians tomorrow, giving an introduction to the book of Philippians and then going into it verse by verse, going through the chapters. And after that, Colossians. And then we'll get into Thessalonians here pretty soon and all of that stuff. But we went through the second epistle to the Ephesians on Friday's program. Huh? Yes, I did. And I had people commenting me, even my brother in Albuquerque, what is the second epistle to the Ephesians? It's Revelation chapter 1, about the first 7 verses, they say, where Jesus is writing a letter telling John, here's what I want you to tell the church at Ephesus. But there was an issue in the churches. There was an issue in the churches, and let me see if I can find it for you real quick. Shelby, it's Revelation 2:14. But I have a few things against you. Okay? He's talking to the church at Pergamum. And he says, but I have a few things against you. You have some there who hold the teaching of Balaam, who taught Balak to put a stumbling block before the sons of Israel so that they might eat food sacrificed to idols and practice sexual immorality. Who is he speaking to? Context. Who's he speaking to first? Who's the audience? He's speaking to the church. He says to the church at Pergamum. So is he talking to the world? Is he talking to the unsaved? Is he talking to the church of Satan? Oh, I'm glad there's not a church of Satan. There is a church of Satan. Okay. But who's he talking to? Talking to the believers. He's talking to those that say, our Father who art in heaven. Amen. He's talking to them. And he says, I have a few things against you because you have there those who hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak to put a stumbling block before the children of Israel to eat things sacrificed to idols and to commit sexual immorality. What is this about? What's this about? Because in that second and third chapter of the book of Revelation, he's going to talk about Jezebel, he's going to talk about Balaam, and he's going to talk about the Nicolaitans. All of those are going to come. Now, the Nicolaitans, it's real hard to kind of trace out who the Nicolaitans are. Jezebel, real easy to find out who Jezebel was, what she did, all that stuff. And the same it was with Balaam. And here we are, hundreds of years later, many generations later, in the book of Revelation, 2,000 years ago, and Jesus is writing to a church, and he's telling the church what? Don't try to put both things together. You need to make a choice. What happened? Let me get my mic, and I'll even, let's see, where's my young man today? Did he leave already? Yes, you. Come on, come on. I tried getting him last time, and he went, I need a young guy that, huh? What happened? Tell me the story of Balaam. Who knows the story of Balaam? Who wants to give us a little background of the story of Balaam? Pastor, how about you? Huh? You know the story of Balaam a little bit, the Old Testament? Huh? Raise your hand if somebody wants to give us a little bit about it. Nobody wants to give us the story? No, the mic. You're afraid of the mic until I put it in your hands, and then I can't take it away from you. That's the problem with the mic. What happened? What happened with Balaam? She knows a little.
Just a little. Wasn't he that prophet or magician that would go and he was paid to go curse somebody?
Mm-hmm.
To go curse?
That's a very good background. No. You got to raise your hand. Take it back to Pauline back over there, and let's see what she says. See that pretty lady over there? That one with her hand up. Go take it over there. Let her. Quick, son. Come on. Pretend like your coach. Coach says, go. There you go. Or 10 laps.
No, I was just going to say that he did it for money.
He did it for money.
Yeah.
He was the prophet for profit.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Then that's what he was trying to do, is put that stumbling block before the children.
Okay,
to
very good.
flail.
Back, get the mic. Who else? Give it to the pastor. He's hiding out on us today. We're not going to let him hide out. Anything you can tell us, real quick, Pastor, about Balaam, huh? No? Okay.
Here? He's going to take it.
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I'm not sure some specific things about Balaam.
all right. How about Marcella over here in the red? What do we know about Balaam?
Okay, he was hired to turn the hearts of Israel away from the Lord.
Okay. So what Balaam did, and you can look at it in the book. Let's see, I have a book of Numbers, and it's probably about 3 or 4 chapters. Tell us about Balaam. What did you learn about Balaam? Nothing? Okay. Sit down right there, man, so I can keep an eye on you. So hold the mic for me. I might. Well, if you Google it, it's okay. Let's get the mic. Ask AI. You don't even have to ask AI, but AI is Google on steroids. It's on.
Balaam is a non-Israelite prophet mentioned in the Bible, particularly in the book of Numbers, where he is hired by King Balak of Moab to curse the Israelites, but ends up blessing them instead as directed by God. His story includes notable events such as the encounter with a talking donkey and his eventual downfall due to leading the Israelites into sin.
There you go. Now we're fully informed about Balaam, and Google helped us out with it. Huh? And now you're going to say, well, how do I get on AI and what do I do? All I'm telling you, what are we talking about today? What's one word that we're talking about today? Choice. Choice. Everybody say choice. So here's what happens with Balaam, just like we read from Google. Balaam In the time when Moses was bringing the people, please, 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 everybody. When Moses was bringing the people out of Egypt on the way to the promised land, on the way, they come up to a place where King Balak is afraid of Israel coming through his territory. And he was afraid that they were. So what he does is he calls in the prophet for prophet. What was his name? Balaam. And this is what the book of Revelation says. He says, you got that same thing going on over there. Because what did Balaam do? Well, Balaam, 3 times, he stood on the top of the mountain, and every time he went up another level, and then he went up another level, and he kept on asking God. He says, listen, these guys aren't going to pay me unless I curse them. He says, I don't want you to curse them. So every time he went out over there to curse them, he went, bless you, people. And Balak said, that's not what I wanted. I wanted you to curse them. He says, God won't let me curse them. So what does Balaam do? This is what Balaam did. Let me tell you what Balaam did. You can read it in the Bible. It's interesting. Very, very interesting. You know what Balaam did? Balaam says, well, if the offer for the money is still on the table, I can't curse them, but I can tell you how you can get them. How did Balaam tell King Balak how to take down God's army? Compromise. What is compromise? What is compromise? Compromise is a choice that we make. Compromise is going to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil instead of going. Do you think that Adam could have gone to the tree of life instead of the tree of good and evil? The Bible doesn't say that there was an angel with a flaming sword hanging around the tree of life until after they went to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. They could have gone to the tree of life, but they went. But what did they do? They made a choice and they compromised. And we need to be careful, ladies and gentlemen, in our world today with compromise. And what Balaam did is saying, God won't let me curse them, but if you still pay me, I'll tell you how you can get them. King Balak, get all your young women and have them dance around them in bikinis. Well, they didn't have bikinis in those days, but get the picture, okay? And as the women from Balak's territory danced around the soldiers who were tired, battle-weary, missing home, and saw the young girls dancing around promiscuously. It was pornography. And what did they do? They compromised. They made a choice. They compromised. He says, I don't want you. He says, church in Pergamum, we got people that are doing the same thing today. Now, here's what we said. You can use it for, let's go bad first, okay? Let's go for bad. You're on the bad side, okay? I'm sorry. You can use it for, or you can use it for, or you can try to use it for both. And that's what Balaam was all about. And that's what the dream was all about. The dream was all about, here's a laptop, just a tool. Everybody say a tool. Just like anything. We got tools all over the place. You got tools. What are you going to use those tools for? What are you going to use those tools for? And what Balaam did is Balaam taught Balak, collected his money, stuck it in his pocket, went back to where he came from, and they cursed the people. Why? Because the people made a choice. And making a choice every day, we're making choices. Sometimes I would gather hundreds of times a day we are making choices. So choose ye today. Just like Joshua. Choose ye today whom you will serve. You say, oh man, this is old fuddy-duddy stuff. I mean, these guys, they remember black and white TV. They remember rotary phones. They remember all kinds of technology have come by. And listen, the church was confronted with radio at one time. Radio came in. And at first, a lot of the church didn't want anything to do with radio. Right now, we have a radio station. And I don't know what the other radio stations are playing. I don't listen to them. But I know what we're playing. I know what programs we have. And I know what we're trying to do with our radio station. TV's the same way. Internet is the same way. Cell phones is the same way. All of this stuff. You know, I tell you that I have the Bible here. And how many translations and how many dictionaries and how many commentaries and how many books that I have downloaded. And all of it is on the hard drive. I don't even have to be on. That's the way why I love eSword. I got pretty much the same thing right here. If I don't have my tablet with me, right here I got a lot of English translations, a lot of commentaries, a lot of dictionaries right here. So when Mrs. Size is in Joanne's in Santa Fe and she's buying material or something for her quilting room or something like that, I'm outside of there. But we always have to make a choice. Let me tell you what. How many of you want to make a choice for Jesus? How many of you want to make a choice for Jesus? We start off with the choice of salvation. We start off with the choice of John 3:16 that says God so loved the world that he gave. I had a guy, let me stop here. I had a guy in my office this week, a young man, who needed help with a utility bill. And I asked him a question. So what church do you go to? He says, I don't. I said, okay. He said, and I said, so what do you believe? He says, well, I'm neutral. I said, what does that mean? He says, I'm neutral. He says, I know what you believe in and I know what other people believe in, but I'm neutral. Is there such a thing as neutrality? Huh? That's a choice. Well, to say that you're neutral is a choice. But it's false. And I shared the scripture with him in my mean way. I did everything except hit him with a whip, but I tried to tell him, listen, there's a God, there's love, there's word, there's salvation. He has I know what you want. He says, you want to get me in your service. I says, I'd like to have you in my service, but I'd rather have Jesus in you first before I have you in my service, because there are a lot of people that come to services in the United States of America, they don't have Jesus in them. But it's a choice that we make. People, the Bible says that God so loved the world that he did what? He gave his only begotten Son. That whoever makes a choice, it's not what it says in John 3:16, but you know what I mean. Whoever makes a choice. Romans chapter 10 says that you can make a choice to confess it with your and believe it in your, and you shall be saved. Don't let it pass you by. But let me tell you what. Here's how I'm going to finish off this morning. The choice. How many of you know that the choice is hard sometimes? Huh? Is it sometimes? We're going to be honest. Sometimes the choice is hard. Sunday. Oh, it's Sunday again. Man, it's the only day I get to sleep, and that fat boy wants me at church, and he wants me there on time. Oh, I got to make a choice. There's grace out there for every choice that you make. There was grace. We're saved, We're saved by grace through faith, or is it by faith through grace? One of the others. But the grace for salvation is out there. And not everybody gets it. Why? Why doesn't everybody get it if it's out there? If God loved them so much that he sent his only begotten Son, that he was born of a virgin, that he lived a sinless life, that he laid that life down willingly on Calvary, that he shed the blood for the forgiveness of their sins, he rose again on the third day, he ascended into heaven, he's coming back again for the living and the dead. Whoever believes, choice, choice, choice. I chose to believe. I chose to trust God in his word. It's a choice that we make. It was grace that was presented to me, and by faith, and every one of us has faith because God has given to every man a measure of faith. And what I have done is by faith, I have received the grace. When the choice comes, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going to come today, tomorrow, all week long, and for the rest of your life, the choice is going to come. And what is there when the choice comes? Everybody say grace. Grace is there. If you don't realize it, you don't see it with your eyes, you don't smell it with your nose, you don't touch it with your hands, but by God, the grace is there every day for us to reach out and say, God, I need you. Help me today by faith. Bow your heads this morning. Father, there's people that are listening to us this morning that need to make that initial choice. People on YouTube, there's people that will be listening to this later, maybe even on the radio station later. But there's people that need to make the choice, the initial choice of believing in you in their heart and confessing with their mouth. Father God, we know it's not our own works, but it's the grace that you have set up for us. Today we reach out for that grace. We want to believe in our heart. We want to confess in our mouth that Jesus Christ is Lord. And Father God, there's grace for every situation that we find ourselves in. Remind us, teach us, show us. We will read your word, and at the right time, you will give us the right promise for the right situation. Father, I pray for these people this morning. I ask you, Lord God, that their hearts would be yours, and I ask him in Jesus'